In fact, she's in every Monday also.
Okay.
So good. She's so good.
Okay, so just to review a tiny bit, we spoke about that we have a neshama, and the neshama is an actual piece of God, and the neshama wants to express itself. The interface that the neshama has in order for it to express itself in this world is through three garments, which are thought, speech, and action. And it seems like
Sorry, didn't drink your Motrin.
it seems like I did it. Okay. It seems like on one hand, clothing, our thought, speech, and action, our clothing are secondary to us. And there's three things about the clothing. Number one, they're disposable, which means that if it's raining outside, I need a raincoat. I come in the house, it's not raining anymore. I take off my raincoat. I could take it off in a second, put it on, take it off. It's at one moment when I need it, but then the next moment it's not relevant anymore. For example, if a person, it's thought, speech, and action. These are the levushim, these are the garments of the soul. So if I want to give tzedakah, I take my hand, I put it in my pocketbook, I take out $1, and I do this motion, and I give the dollar to a poor person. That's it. I used my garment of action, and I gave tzedakah. But if I do this for the rest of the day, I'm not accomplishing anything. Only at that moment, when I gave tzedakah to the person, that action was valuable. Then that's it. So it comes and it goes. It's transient, it's welcome. It's transient, it's temporary. So that's one downside to the garment. Another thing is that it can't be that great because my neshama in heaven doesn't need thought, speech, and action. So how great could it be if in heaven I'm fine without it? And thirdly, this thought, speech, and action, which is a garment for my soul, guess what? It's also a garment for my animal soul, for my animalistic soul, for to do the things that maybe Hashem doesn't want. So how wonderful. So obviously, seemingly, these garments, okay, they're secondary. But the chidush, the novelty of Tanya teaches us that these garments that seem so disposable are very, very critical. And as a matter of fact, in a sense, they're even greater than the powers of the neshama itself. Okay, we're gonna have to see how that is. Okay, just to give a few more examples of what does it mean to be a garment. For example, the internet. Is the internet a garment for my soul? Okay, so at this very moment, for us, the internet is being used as a garment for my soul. But it could be that in this very house, at this very time, it's possible that someone else could be using the internet for something else, to go shopping or for something else. So that's what it means, a garment, and that it could be used by both, the good side and the bad side. How about a police uniform? Is a police uniform something good or something? Is a police uniform, could it be something good or could it be something bad? Could it be a tool for holiness or could it be a tool for the opposite of holiness? What do you think? Both. If a thief steals a uniform from a police officer and uses it to masquerade and uses it to do a crime, then it could be very not good. So it really depends who's using it and for what purpose. And yet we're going to see that these garments, how valuable they are, they could even be considered more valuable than the soul itself. Okay, so in order to understand how that's possible, how is it possible that the garment that is so temporary, so transient, that it could be even more valuable than the soul? So that's the question that we have, and we're going to answer it at the end of the class. Now we're going to go to another whole new topic to get to the answer for what's so significant, what's so special, what's so great about these transient, temporary, secondary, seemingly tools. So now we're going to a new question. The question is, what is Torah? What is Torah? What do you think? Hashem's will, excellent. Okay, so if you ask people what is Torah, you have different answers. Some people could say it's a collection of our beliefs, it's a collection of our rituals, it's our history, and all those, if you did multiple choice, they will all be correct. However, you didn't get to the real definition of what is Torah. Torah is divine wisdom in book form. As it says, which means Torah and Hashem are absolutely one. So what is Torah? Torah is Hashem's will and wisdom. And if I say that Torah is Hashem's will and wisdom, and Hashem and his wisdom are one. So basically, when I learn Torah, I am taking in the essence of Hashem. And the question is, how in the world is that possible? Okay. The reason why we think, and even a bigger question, so I'm saying Hashem and his wisdom are one. Hashem and the Torah are one. Well, if they're one, then why? I've just said two different things. Hashem and the Torah are one. So how could they be one? If I just said two different things are one. So what does that mean? Hashem and his wisdom are one. And if they're one, then why am I saying that? Why I just said they're two different things that are one. So the reason why we have such trouble understanding that Hashem and his wisdom are one is because we judge everything based on our experience. So we can have very, very good imagination, but our imagination is only limited to our experience. So for example, if I want to picture in my mind aliens or what they would look like, so the alien will have 3 eyes. I have 2 eyes, the alien could have 3 eyes or 5 hands, or so it's all based on what I know. Okay, let's use our imagination and change it up a little bit. So for a human being, there is 3 things. There's me, there's the knowledge, and there is the technology, which is my mind, the technology that I use the learning process in order for me to understand and to gain new information. Now, for us, that's 3 different things. So there's me. If I'm not smart and I can't understand something, I'm still me. I'm not a human being just because I don't understand something. So there's me and there's the information. Now, if there's a great amount of information, but no one learns it, the information is still the information. That didn't change just because there isn't anyone to learn it. And the processing, the ability to learn, that's also a 3rd separate thing. For example, if God forbid a person is very sick or they have dementia or they're in a vegetative state, so their processing is not working. But Yiddishkeit says that their life, that they're still alive, and their life, it has incredible value, even if the processing isn't working, even if they can't remember, they can't understand. So it's 3 different things. But with Hashem and his wisdom and the processing is all one, which is not something that we can understand. And there's a bunch of psukim that the Tanya actually goes through to explain to us how we could never understand what this means, that Hashem and his wisdom are one. Now let's see why. the ultimate reason why we can't understand Hashem, what it means Hashem and its wisdom are one, or what Hashem's wisdom is because when I want to understand something, how do I understand something? I need a definition. That's why in school you have the vocabulary words. It's a word that I don't understand. Now give me a definition. Tell me what it is or what it's not. I have to define it. Give it parameters. Give it context. And once you define something for me, then I can understand it. So the whole concept of knowing something for a human being, it has to be defined. And when I define it, by definition, I am making it finite. I'm limiting it. But what is Hashem? Hashem is, number one, Hashem is Ein Sof. Hashem has no limit. So what does that mean, Hashem has no limit? It doesn't just mean that Hashem has no limit in time. I think what's no limit? Oh, to go on an airplane from here to Australia is no limit. It's such a long journey. It seems like it's unlimited. And Hashem is beyond that. It's so much more than that, because that is just a limitation of a limitation of time. But Hashem is Ein Sof. Hashem has no limit. So now does Hashem have no limit of time? Hashem also has no limit of space. I'm here, my daughter's in my house. I'm only in this space. So, but Hashem is not limited by space. So basically, if I was to summarize all the psukim that I'm gonna list, the ultimate conclusion that we come to is that Hashem has no definition. We need everything defined, which means we need everything to be limited and has a beginning and an end and a middle. But Hashem has no definition. You can't define him. You can't say, he's this and he's not that. You can't define Hashem at all. So
The question of why, like, even when you're diving, you do use definitions to describe Hashem. That's just for us to kind of like have something to relate to it. It's not a true definition.
Okay, it's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. So our starting point is Chassidus teaches us that we have to know. The whole Chassidus in one line teaches us that we have to know how small we are and how great we could become. So we have to first realize that if I think I'm great, if I think I could understand Hashem, if I think that when I dive in and I say Hashem is the king and Hashem is great and Hashem is glory and I understand what that means, then if I think I'm great, I could only climb. I could climb as high as I can, but ultimately, as high as I get, it's going to be limited to what a human being, the greatness that a human being could reach. Even if I'm living on this earth for 1,000 years serving Hashem, as long as I think I'm great and I'm climbing every single day higher and higher in the rungs of greatness and spirituality, I could only get as far as the greatest human being could get, which is finite, because the human being is finite. But the second that I realize that I'm very, 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 very small, and it's not about me at all, that is when I make space for Hashem and for what Hashem wants, that is when I'm going to truly achieve infinite greatness. So when I read, Hashem, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimlech, all that has to be from a lens, from a Tanya lens after we learn what we're learning, then we could daven. Then we could understand that we have to understand that the whatever we're saying, we have to look at it not from a finite perspective, but from an infinite perspective. If when I'm davening and I'm limiting Hashem to a king, then it's very limiting. I have to understand that I can't understand Hashem's greatness no matter what. And the only reason why I'm using king is to give me some kind of, idea, but it's not, we have to realize that ultimately there are no definitions. Ultimately, Hashem is not definable because the thing is even if I say Hashem is so great, then ultimately I'm trapping him in heaven. Let's say you meet this great scientist, and yeah, you're a journalist, and you meet this great scientist, and you're interviewing him, and he's telling you about who knows what kind of chemicals or engineering, who knows what, and you have no idea what he's talking about. And you say, wow, he is so brilliant. Why is he so brilliant? Because he's smarter than me. And the scientist can't explain to me in regular language that I could understand what he's saying. So then what happens? The scientist is locked up in the world of science, limited and trapped in the world of science, and he could have all of his friends who are all great scientists, and they're all trapped in that brilliant world of science. And I am trapped in a world that I don't understand what he's saying. So if Hashem is so great, what happens is we're limiting him to the heavens, and we're saying Hashem is so great, but he's not accessible to me. So just like he's so great and so unlimited in the heaven, he's also, why limit him? Why limit him to heaven? Ultimately, Hashem is accessible to every single one of us. So the same Eibishter, who we can't understand, who it's impossible to understand him, the whole point of Torah and mitzvahs is that a God, an infinite God that we can't understand, that we should be able to grasp. And we're going to see how that happens. Ultimately, that's going to happen through learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. Okay. So just a couple of quotes, just to show you how much we can't understand. So we said Hashem is Ein Sof, Hashem is not definable. Then we say V'ligdulasai Ein Cheker, which means that his gedula, his greatness, there is no extent to which we can understand his greatness. Greatness is different than essence. Greatness is what you portray to someone else. If let's say a person is standing in line a person is standing in line to pay for their groceries, and then the person in front of them says to the cashier, I'm going to pay the bill, of the person behind me, right? So there's a limit to his kindness. He knows who he's giving the kindness to, and he knows what he's sharing, to who he's sharing with, and how much it's going to be. There's a limit to his kindness. Hashem's gedula, Hashem's greatness, what Hashem shares with us, there is no limit to Hashem's kindness. It says leis machshava tfisa beklal, which means that no intellectual process could understand Hashem. In the intellectual process is the wrong technology to understand Hashem. It's not just that I'm not smart and there's another human being who's smarter, or the smartest human being would be able to grasp Hashem. It's not possible. The whole intellectual process is the wrong technology to understand Hashem. It says Ein Cheker L'Sfunasei, which means you can't plummet the depth of his understanding. It has nothing to do with an individual human being. It's just not possible. It says, HaCheker Aleka Timtza. is it possible to have the means by which to grasp God? Meaning that we don't have the means to grasp God. And which means Hashem says, your thoughts are not my thoughts. So what does that mean? Okay, my thoughts, it's a process. I understand it's a process like a ladder. I understand this today, and then I have to go process, understand the next thing tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And Hashem, okay, Hashem's thought process is different. That by me, I only see a little bit, and Hashem sees everything. And Hashem sees everything at once. And Hashem sees the essence, while I only see the outside, and slowly I could come to the depth. But that is not true, because then again, what did I just do? I just defined Hashem's thought process, and Hashem is beyond definition. So ultimately, there's a bunch of phrases that we just brought from Zayar, from other places, which basically prove to us that as great as we are, we could never ever understand Hashem, because our understanding we need definitions for, and Hashem is not definable. So back to our original question: if we can't understand Hashem, then and Hashem and Torah are one, what benefit am I going to have from learning Torah if I can't connect and understand Hashem? So I open up the Torah, and what does it say? It says the story of Yosef and the brothers. If I understand that story, what do I understand? I understand that sibling rivalry didn't begin with my family, right? But I don't understand Hashem. No, but okay, and now that and what did Hashem do? So I'm just going to connect it for 1 second to Hanukkah. What was the issue that the Greeks had against the Jews? What was their problem? What's the difference between Greek philosophy? They were very, very smart. And Yiddishkeit. Greek philosophy is man-made. And Yiddishkeit, Jewish philosophy, or Torah, is God-given. It's not something that a human being discovered. Matan Torah, Hashem gave us the Torah, and what did we say? Nasa v'nishma. And that they couldn't stand. That's what bothered the Greeks. Nasa, that we're going to do action, which seems so insignificant. We're just going to do, and then we'll hear this concept that there's a Torah that is divine wisdom, that is infinite and limitless and not undefinable. That's what drove them crazy. You want to learn Torah like any other philosophy, we have no problem, but not because it's divine wisdom. If you want to do it to sharpen your brain, wonderful. But what bothered them, that it's God-given. It's God-given, and it's infinite, and it's undefinable, and it's Hashem and His wisdom are one. That's what drove them crazy. Okay. So we have to understand and now in our day and age, we can understand it even more than ever because of technology. We have to understand, how is it that we could open up the Chumash and read about Yosef and the brothers, and that we could actually grasp a God who we could never understand. So what did Hashem do? Hashem gave us an incredible gift. Sometimes we have trouble, with the internet, whatever it is. So I can't record. I asked, my kids took my computer. I can't find it. So Bela will get her computer and we'll record on that computer, right? And then what do? The file I say, okay, so now you're going to send me the file. The file is too big, right? So what do? You put in a zip file, and then you email it to me, and then I download it, and then I extract the files. So I didn't dumb it down, or you didn't dumb it down to send it to me. What did you do? You compressed it. And then I'm able to open it and get the whole thing. So this is what Hashem did. And a mashal to understand it is a mashal of water. Water comes. Okay. Water comes from a very, very high place, and it goes to a very, very low place. If you're doing construction, right, and you want to know if the house is if it's leveled properly, the floor is leveled properly, just take a cup of water and pour it on the floor, and you'll see if the water all, if the water flows down, then you'll see that it's not really straight. So the water will always flow down to the most lowest place possible. That's what water does. And the water doesn't change. It doesn't change on its way down. The water is always coming down. The rain comes straight down. It doesn't like in the middle turn into something else. It's the same water. And if you have water on top of the mountain or you have water at a waterfall, water is always coming down, 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 down to the lowest possible place. And where do you see, just like water, where do you see Hashem's greatness? You see Hashem's greatness in his humility. Okay, we have to understand what that means. Okay, so let's talk about water for a second. Yeshayahu, the Navi Yeshayahu says, any person who is thirsty should go to the water. Go to the water. So, I mean, everyone knows that. What is he saying? I don't need a prophet to tell me that if I'm thirsty, I should go drink water. There's something about water that it quenches our thirst. Even though there's so many other beverages, like the Coke, the advertising for Coke, and you see the drips of, the bottle of Coke and the drips of water, on it. But the kid says, "Oh, can I have a drink of Coke?" And say, "It's not going to quench your thirst." The only thing that could quench our thirst is water, and water represents Torah. Only Torah could quench our thirst, to fill that void inside of us, which is what basically the neshama wants to express itself. Water we know is compared to Torah. We know is compared to water from the story of Rabbi Akiva, that the Romans forbade Jews to learn Torah, and Rabbi Akiva still had his whole network of yeshivas and teaching Torah. So they said to him, "How could you teach Torah? That's it. The Romans are going to find you're going to be finished." And he gave an example of the fish. The fish are swimming in the water, and they're swimming against the current. And the fox comes and says, "What's the problem?" So he said, "Oh, there's a fisherman over there, and we're trying to swim against the current. We're trying to swim away from the fisherman." So the fox says, "Come out, sit with me on the riverbank, and then you'll be fine." And then after the fisherman you can go back in. Say, "Oh, I thought fox was smart. If we go out of the water, we're going to for sure die. At least in the water, we have a chance to survive." That's what Rabbi Akiva said. So water represents Torah. We know that. And water always rains down. It never rains up. Always rains down. Always flows down to the lowest point. So first of all, Torah always flows to people who are humble. That's the most basic explanation. And that's why Moshe, who was the most humble of all, he was the one who was the one who gave us the Torah. This is the quote: "Wherever you find Hashem's greatness, that is where you find his humility. And if you turn it around, the same thing, wherever you see Hashem's humility, that's where you see his greatness. Hashem's greatness is not in the fact that he's so aloof, that we could never understand him. But rather, Hashem's greatness is that he is accessible to us. And how does Hashem make himself accessible to us? Through the Torah. Okay. Amazing, amazing example. We have to understand where Torah originates. Yes, it's true that when I open up the Chumash and I read about Yosef, it seems like a regular simple story, or not so simple story. I have to ask myself, where did it originate? Okay, this is an incredible example that I think is so down to earth. And we could use it to explain to anyone why we do Torah mitzvahs and why we do it the way we do it. Okay, I don't know about you. The task that is my least favorite task to do is to make a grocery list. I have a app on my phone with like 300 items on it, and then I check off all the things that I need. And it takes at least a half hour for me to go through this list and check off all the things that we need this week. I make one grocery list, like one main shopping for the week. So I took the time, I spent half an hour and I made this list, for example, and I gave it to my husband is the one who does the shopping, thank goodness. And imagine that I wrote on the list Post Bran Flakes, the brand Post Bran Flakes. I wrote this on the list. I just wrote Bran Flakes, and usually we have Post Bran Flakes in the house. My husband comes home and he says, "Guess what? There was a sale on Bran Flakes, a different brand. Maybe it was Kemach, I don't know. And I bought a different brand of Bran Flakes, and it was on sale. And I bought 10 boxes of it. It was on sale. And then what happens? I give him a cold shoulder. Why? Because I don't like that brand. I only like this particular brand. Think of mayonnaise. There's Hellman's mayonnaise, and then there's other brands, or vanilla extract. You have pure vanilla extract, you have imitation vanilla extract, right? But there's think of your favorite food. It's chocolate, is it ice cream, whatever it is, and that particular brand is the brand that you like, not just any brand. So the grocery list, where did it originate? Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to finish this because it's an amazing muscle. The grocery list, it didn't originate in my pantry, what I'm missing. The grocery list originated in my will, what I like to eat. And the same thing is with Torah. The mitzvahs, lulav, esrog, Chanukah, menorah, all these things, it seems like, and the husband could say, what do you care? You asked for bran flakes, I brought you bran flakes, right? The mitzvahs, where does it originate? It originates in Hashem's most deepest desire. It comes down in this world as a Chanukah menorah. But you have to realize that it originates from something so much higher. Okay, to be continued. I just want you to have that thought. So that's this is where we're going. This is where we're headed. A lot of times, someone could say to you, even if they didn't grow up from, there's different mitzvahs in the Torah. Mitzvah like being kind. Okay, that I can understand. But to tell me that on Shabbos I can't turn on a light, or on Sukkot I need to have 4 different types of things that grow and shake them together, I don't believe that Hashem is so petty that he cares if my willows, if they're withered, if they have, or not. But Hashem is to give tzedakah, that I understand. I give a lot of tzedakah. And then after 120 years, I come to Hashem and I say, look how much tzedakah I gave. And Hashem says, you don't understand. On Sukkot, my favorite mitzvah is that you should take these 4 species and take them together. if I'm great, if I'm coming from a human perspective that I have to understand, then Taka makes no sense to me. Hashem, Hashem, I don't see that. I can't believe that Hashem is so petty. But if I realize that I'm small, Hashem is infinite, and I'm just I'm his creation, and I can't understand him. There's no way in the world that I can understand him. And he tells me it's on his terms what his will is. It's not what makes sense to me. I think it's petty. I don't think it's petty. It's not about me. You have to be small. When you're small, then you could truly reach the greatest heights. You have a beautiful painting on the wall. Imagine the painting is in a beautiful museum. And imagine the painting opens up its mouth and says, hey, I want to tell you, I understand, and I want to tell you about the greatness of the artist. It's impossible. It's impossible for a creation to understand its creator. Even though the painting and the person are both finite and Hashem is infinite. So we have to realize, when all of a sudden when we get this realization that the Torah and the mitzvahs, when we open the Chumash and we read whatever we're reading, and it could be the most simple pasuk. There's a pasuk that says, okay, I'm going to find it. The most simple pasuk of Achos Tim. I'm forgetting. There's like and the daughter, the sister. When the Torah describes, a name of a person, says, and this was his sister. That has as much holiness as an Ech Hashem Alekecha. Why? Because what is Torah? Torah is Hashem's essence in book form. And it didn't originate. Where did it originate? It originated in the most highest place. And what did Hashem do? Hashem, just like the zip file, Hashem took the whole thing and he put it in a zip file and he gave it to us. And then once we get it, we're able to unpack it and extract the files. The more Chassidus we learn, the more we understand Hashem. When you look at it on the surface, you're like, hey, how can I connect to Hashem from this most simple, basic story? Or just like, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like, how can I connect to Hashem? But when I understand, when I realize that the grocery list didn't just start, it's not just what's missing in my pantry. You know why it takes me so long to make that grocery list? Because when I'm already meal planning in my head. What am I making for Shabbos? What do I want to eat? What do my kids want to eat? It's so much more than just, is there tomato paste in the pantry or not? It's so much more involved than that. And the same thing is with Torah. We see the written word, ink on parchment, but where did it originate from? And the greatness of Hashem is that he could take his infinite wisdom and put it into a Torah to make it accessible, that the very wisdom that we can't understand, it's impossible to understand, we should still be able to grasp. And how do we grasp it? When we learn Torah, when we say the words of Torah, even if we don't understand them, and when we do mitzvah actions. So now we're starting to see how the levushim, the thought, speech, and action, when I use my mind to learn Torah, when I use my mouth to say the words of Torah, when I use my hands or my body to perform the mitzvahs, this is the only way, Hashem's way, of how a finite human being could grasp and connect with an infinite God. It's only on Hashem's terms. It's not what I think is petty, what I don't think is petty. It doesn't have to do with me. It doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with what Hashem prescribed. And therefore, if you give Hashem the wrong brand of bran flakes, right? It's exactly what Hashem said. It's not what makes sense to me. Hashem, exactly. Hashem said you have to light Shabbos candles at 4:16. It's 4:16. It comes all the way down to the most tangible, most physical thing. And that's how you know That's how you know that's where you see Hashem's greatness. Just like the water comes down to the most lowest place. If you have a brilliant individual who's just um who is so smart, but he can't explain to you what he does, or then that's the greatest. The where do you see the most smartness is when a person who's so smart could explain to a child what this incredible intellectual concept.
It means that they really understand.
Yeah, the lower you can go, the lower you can go. That's why we see the great leaders, the Rebbe, how he would take the time to give a coin to a child or give a smile to a child, give lakach and dollars and everything. The lower you could bring yourself doesn't mean that we don't think less of you, but you think more of you. The lower you can go, that shows true greatness. Okay, so what I want to do now, I want to bring this back to the second chapter of Tanya. What do we speak about the second chapter of Tanya? We spoke about the neshama. The same thing, the same formula is with the neshama. The neshama, where does it come from? The most greatest heights. And where does it come down? To a human body. And to explain the neshama, we gave an example of a parent and a child. And we said a child, a baby, the moment before conception, there's nothing. It's like the before conception, it's just the desire to have a child, and that's it. And then there's conception, then the egg is fertilized, and then you have this tiny thing, whatever you want to call it, right? And then that develops and further develops and further develops until what do you have? Until you have toenails. Now the toenails, it came all the way down. You have a baby with toenails. Now that came from it came from nothing. Came just from a desire, from a ratzon. Take a ratzon, it was a desire, and then 9 months later you have toenails, which are so much lower. But now go look at where did the toenails come from? The origin of the toenails. In the toenail, you have the same DNA as the brain cell. So it's the same concept again and again. And we spoke about like how could you have Avos Yisrael? How could you love another person? And how could you love another person when you realize that we're all neshamas from the same body, and it seems like this person is so low. But if you trace it back, what is the origin? The origin is the chelka. It came down to a toenail. It's a toenail neshama. It's a heel neshama. But ultimately, where did it come from? It's an actual part of Hashem. So we see this, just like you have this child that came from a desire, just from a desire, and then you have the toenails originated from and then you have this child who's completely separate from you, and it could even be that the child will say one day, will tell his parents, I'm moving out. So we always have to trace everything back to its origin. You have to trace the grocery list to the origin, which is the person's will. You have to trace the toenail to its origin, to its origin, which is that first seed. You have to and you have to trace. When you open up the Torah, when you read and you see the parsha on the ink, you have to trace it back to the origin, which is what? Which is Hashem's will and wisdom. And that's why, and Hashem is giving it to you in a zip file. Yes, you have to extract it. Yes, you have to learn it. Yes, you have to, there's 4 levels, parties of Torah. Delve into it, and the more you delve into it, the more the more you will uncover Hashem's greatness. But now all of a sudden it takes mitzvahs to a whole different level. You understand? We're understand, and through the mitzvahs, we're actually able to grasp the infinite God, which we could never understand. Go ahead.
Let's say I go wash my hands onto the super. I always have to, I do it, I'm really saying the breath, I catch myself that I didn't do it with the proper intention. How do I train myself to do a mitzvah beforehand already with the proper intention?
By sitting here. By sitting here and learning.
I'm not too ready for it.
But the more we learn, the more it's repeated, the more, slowly. But that's where we find Hashem in the details, And I want to just finish with a story while I was preparing. So on YouTube, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson shares a story. I think he does it for every night of Hanukkah. I'm going to find it and I'm going to share it on the group.
I did last night.
Okay, so that's the story that I'll share. Incredible story. What's the story? It was October 7th, and this 12-year-old boy, his name is Ariel Zohar. At 6:15 in the morning, he left his house to go running. And he didn't realize that this would actually save his life. The terrorists came and they murdered his father Yaniv and his mother Yasmin and his sisters Keshet and Tchelet. And he's 12 years old, and his whole family was murdered. And Zaka asked him, the terrorists were still there, it was still dangerous. It was in Kibbutz Nachal Oz. Is there anything from your house? The house was burning. They put the house on fire. Is there anything from the house that you want us to retrieve? And he said, yes, there's one thing that I want. I want my tefillin. I'm 12 years old. My bar mitzvah is on the first night of Hanukkah. And my father bought me tefillin. And I want the tefillin. And the IDF, they gave the Zaka 7 minutes, whatever it is, that they would give protections, that they could run into the house and try to save, to try. And you see in the video, a couple of seconds of footage of them running into the house and say, oh, we found the tefillin. They took the tefillin, they took a family photo album, and that was it. And you see in the video, you see them giving it to him. And where was he? He's in his grandfather's house. His grandfather is 91 years old and a Holocaust survivor. And when he was 14 years old, the Nazis murdered his parents. And he tells his grandson, Ariel, you will enjoy your grandchildren in Israel. And Rabbi Meir Lau was at his bar mitzvah and spoke to him and hugged him and told him that your future depends on you. But the question is, why was the tefillin so important to him? It wasn't a religious kibbutz. He realized that the tefillin is our secret weapon. It's the secret weapon for Jewish eternity. And it's tefillin, and it's Shabbos candles, and it's all the mitzvahs. This is our weapon for Jewish eternity. So it seems like it's just tefillin. It's just black boxes. Who really cares? But he recognized that by putting on tefillin, that is how he is going to be connected to his father, to his parents, to his family, to Hashem. And it's through, and just like this boy, Ariel, with the pair of tefillin, that's all he wanted from his house. That's how he felt he could connect to his family. The same is with us. We want to connect to Hashem. It's through learning, it's through davening, and it's through doing mitzvahs. And then Hashem is so accessible. Hashem is giving us the biggest gift. He's giving us the ability. He's giving us the ability that we could truly grasp him. And Hashem is not far away in the sky. It's up. That's what Rabbi Lau said to him. The future depends on you. It depends on us. It depends on us to truly feel that connect, to truly be connected, And sometimes you have a down day, and sometimes you have a hard day, and sometimes there's challenges, and there's rejection or whatever it is, and you could feel like it's such a low place. And what happened? So this week I felt literally brokenhearted. My daughter finally dated someone, and she actually liked him, and then he said no. And I felt so broken. I said to my husband, I feel so broken. I don't want to daven. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. And then after learning this, I davened. Because I realized, I think that Hashem, like, where are you? Like, why can't you make this simple? Like, why does it have to be so difficult? Like, why do you have to put her through this? And therefore I daven. Why? Because if I daven, then I could truly grasp Hashem, and Hashem is really here with me. And maybe at this moment it's painful and I can't understand it, whatever it is. But ultimately, Hashem leads the footsteps of man, and for whatever reason, this meeting had to happen, and whatever it is. So when you feel, on one hand, you could feel anger. I'm done. Why does that have to be so difficult? How could you? I'm angry. But at the same time, despite the anger, despite the frustration, instead of saying, okay, Hashem, I'm done with you. I'm angry at you. I davened, I asked, I wanted, I begged, I pleaded. Why couldn't you just, didn't have to make this come up at all? So instead of take the anger and dafka do a mitzvah. Dafka, when you feel so angry, so alone, so what? I can't understand you, Hashem. I can't understand you, Hashem. So therefore, I'm going to learn. Because when I learn Torah, just saying the words, even if I don't understand the words, what happens? I'm grasping Hashem. Hashem, yeah. So that's the remedy to when you feel alone is not to say, Hashem, I don't want anything to do with you. But rather to because rather to say I want to feel your closeness. You are actually here. You are accessible. You're right here. It's not that God is far away in the sky. It's up to me to make Hashem to experience Hashem, and that Hashem wants me to grasp him, that he should be accessible. That's where you see his greatness, not the fact that he's undefinable. That's not where you see his greatness. The fact that a God who's undefinable, that has no definition, that he could send me a zip file with his essence. Literally, when I open up a Torah, right? What is it? It's Hashem's essence, Hashem's wisdom, which is Hashem's essence. Hashem and his wisdom are one in book form. That's what it is. I could grasp Hashem. I could actually hold on to him. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
So now I have to like train myself before I do that stuff, before I open my pre-test, to say, I wish that please help me connect to them. Or thank you for letting me connect to you.
Just the fact that I daven, just the fact that I learn, that is already a connection.
It's happening, even without.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm doing it by rote. And I feel bad, you know.
But again, you
In
define
middle,
it
I
on your terms, but then.
Middle, I'm saying Ashkachin, Melech Halayim, oops, Melech Halayim, like, oops, the first time of the book, you know. I feel bad. That,
But you're feeling bad because you're looking at it from a human perspective. If Hashem just wanted you to say it, you are accomplishing. Of course, it's better to have.
yeah, that's what I need. The intention is missing.
It's not, but we're human. It's not, it's almost impossible to have, I mean, of course, it's our goal to, but the fact that you're doing it is just a connection in and of itself.
Right.
Right.
So that's why that's why the levushim are even greater than the powers of the soul. Because first, last time, what did we say? The main thing is the love and the fear. That's what propels the mitzvah. That's what's so important. That I love Hashem and I don't love myself, and I'm doing it for the right reasons, and that's all wonderful and great and true. But ultimately, I can have all the love and all the fear in the world. Right? The husband can have all the intentions in the world, but unless those groceries are in the house, you can't make Shabbos. Right? So the love, the even greater than the love and the fear are going to be wings. We're going to learn to carry the mitzvahs. But ultimately, the thought, speech, and action, which you thought are just tools, ultimately, they're superior to the soul itself. And the fact is that the soul came down to this, and how do we know that? Because the soul came down on earth. There's something here. The soul is perfect. Why did it have to come down here into a physical body? Because only here, this is where Hashem's essence is. This is where his greatness is, not in the other worlds. Hashem's greatness is down here. And we may not feel it, because because again, where do you see Hashem's greatness? The lower you could come down. But the Hashem, the lowest and the highest are connected. It's a hard thing to understand, but Hashem's, because again, Hashem is so infinite that he's able to take his infinity and to compress it into the most tangible, physical object. And when we do a mitzvah with the most physical, tangible object, that is where we are touching. We are touching infinity. Why? Because Hashem said so. Because Hashem said that this is meaningful to me. This is the brand of brown flakes that I like.
You're saying that the highest part of Hashem is his will?
The highest part of Hashem's will and his wisdom. And it's not just will, like I want chocolate. Hashem's, yes. So Hashem's will is not just I would appreciate if you would. Hashem's will is his coming from his essence, innate desire, and Hashem's innate desire is that we should light Hanukkah candles, So and how many this teaching this week on Monday that how many candles are 6 candles, 1 candle, all these things, but the halacha, the details of the halacha, this is where you could find the greatness of Hashem. The lower it could come down, the lower it is, that's really the highest point. So the angels, this earth down here, this is where the greatness of Hashem is, and Hashem is, and it's so great here, but we don't always feel it, because if we felt it, our neshamas would just fly out. So that's why Hashem makes that we shouldn't feel. You know what it's like? It's like the mashal of the guy who's very, very poor, and he finds out that once in 10 years there's a boat that goes to a faraway land where there are diamonds. The diamonds pave there are diamonds on the ground, paving the floor. So he borrows money for his wife, and he travels to this faraway place, and he gets here so excited, and he picks up the diamonds, and he puts them in his pocket, and he fills his pockets. He goes to the nearby restaurant, and he orders himself a 10-course meal. And then they say to him, okay, so it's 10 pounds of chicken fat to pay for this. He's like, what do you mean? I don't have chicken fat. I have diamonds. That's the real deal. No. And this here currency isn't diamonds. Here currency is chicken fat. So to us, so I'm saying to us, the mitzvahs are the diamonds. And that's how he becomes very wealthy with chicken fat. And then after 10 years, he comes home with 3 boatloads of chicken fat. And his wife can't believe it. And then he had a few diamonds in his pocket from the first day that he was there. So in this, we're living in this world. We don't realize the value of a mitzvah. And a mitzvah is a diamond, and all the money and everything else is just chicken fat. It's worthless up there. But the nitty gritty mitzvahs and the negavaser and the brachos and the cooking for our family and all the laundry, every physical most primal need. This is where we grasp Hashem when we do these things, when we elevate it and we use it for Hashem, for a mitzvah. This is the greatest, the greatness of Hashem is specifically in this world, and that's why the neshama comes down here. It can't do it up there, because the neshama up there could experience Hashem. It could experience it could enjoy the pleasure, bask in the glory of the lights of it could experience Hashem. But only in this world could you unite with Hashem. Could you become one with Hashem? Could you grasp the infinite God? That's only here. That's only here. Okay. No, it's very easy.
She's saying, even if you feel angry, but take your anger towards Hashem. Okay? Yeah. I still need time. No, it is very hard. Personal experience.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
I think of one time where I got some news and literally felt like Hashem pushed me away. That's what it felt like. I couldn't reach him. I was so in shock inside that I couldn't reach Hashem. It took a few days. About a few years. Unfortunately, I didn't experience it just very bad.
So there's two things. When we feel the anger, for whatever it is, and we obviously absolutely don't understand Hashem's ways, because we can't understand Hashem's ways, right? Like, it was so clear, and there's so many signs, and it looked so perfect, and this could have been the biggest, most greatest thing in the world, right? So when we do a mitzvah, or when we daven, or when we learn Torah, we're doing two things. Number one, we're making Hashem accessible to us. We're bringing Hashem very, 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 very close. Number one. And the main thing is that whether we feel like it or not, we're truly becoming one with Hashem, and that's the only thing that's going to make us feel better. Seriously, as much chocolate as you're going to eat, it's not going to take away. It's, I was such a wreck. And now after learning all this, like, all of a sudden I'm wondering. I know I was so angry, but that anger, I don't feel that anger anymore. Because why? Because I spent how many hours learning. You know what? That's the best medicine. That's the best thing, because if the chocolate and the overeating and that's not gonna take away the pain. But yet, right? But the connecting to Hashem, ultimately, that's yeah. Now, ultimately, that's what I'm thinking out loud. I was I was so upset. I was so upset. And now I don't even know where that upsetness is.
I'm not giving you ideas. But when the ship does something to us personally, it doesn't hurt. As bad as what it does to one of our children. It's the hardest thing to see your child in pain. It's.
And then my daughter says to me, what do you care, Ma? It's not you that has to date. And I'm like, you don't understand what a parent feels, right? Because again, go to the point of origin. Kiddo, guess where you come from? You know, where's your origins? You think that you're the only one on the date, and you're like, she's like, I'm doing the hard work. You're just sitting home worrying, you know? But ultimately, again, go back to the origin of everything.
Were you more hurting than she was hurting? You think that
It could be. It could be.
Sometimes I think that my kids say, I think they're like, what's the big deal now? We're sitting there like,
Yeah, she's like, Mom, okay. I'm like,
they're more okay than
We
we are.
also have like,
We
you
want
see a
to be,
longer ramification and they're just,
Right.
they went on a date and it's a limited, they don't like the guy, they don't.
We
see
don't
the
want it.
opportunity.
Yeah, but
We don't want him to
I
give up.
think-
We don't want
but
him
I
to
think
get
more,
down.
I
We
think-
don't want him to.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
but I also think that we get to sometimes the line of like, which is another thing, is like, we take us off of the picture sometimes, like, we wanted them to get married, because we need to see them married up, and they need to go on the person, and they're okay, because you know what? And we get too much, like, about like ourselves into it, instead of saying that this is her life, her
Yeah.
journey, and learn to separate. That's our job as parents, and that's very hard. It's like, it's not our life. And we get mostly invested and meshed into them, and we
Yes.
try to carry, and that gets sometimes interfered with them. But if
Oh,
we
big
sit back
time.
and say, you know, it's like Cindy when they drive them not getting married, they're okay, the mother's going crazy, and they go like, I'm fine. What do you mean? Like, and we mother go around a little nervous, and like, and then they feed off each other. That's not good. We want them married. They have their journey. That's their journey.
Yeah.
That's the go. That's the
And
go.
it's, yeah, no, I know that.
And myself, I'm like, we need to get them married up, and they're fine. I'm like, but we, it's not about us. But really, we need to step back and care, but let them have their thing, and then they feel that we don't let them carry emotions.
I know, but when it's almost.
When they're carrying them as emotions, it makes it worse.
Because when it's personal, you know,
But-
rejection.
But we need to sit there and like hold it in.
It's
Like, I'm
supposed to
like,
be the other way around.
we
We don't reject.
but we have to- it's very hard, but we have to put emotions away, then I'm going to feel emotions.
But
Because
I'm just
I did the
wondering.
same thing.
I'm just wondering. It was Tuesday night when they said no. I was so
How many
so
days is it?
just one.
Oh.
But she wanted.
My
It was
kid-
just one date. But I'm saying Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I was like, I am going to bed because I was not like,
Yeah.
don't even talk to me.
Yeah.
And I was done. I was like emotionally finished. But now it's Thursday. It's not that much later, and I'm wondering where is that anger right now? It's gone. It's because it's not good. I didn't go for therapy. It's because just the learning, all of a sudden, I don't know where I don't know where their anger is anymore. I was
You said
such
it's
a
the
wreck.
remedy to it.
I was such a wreck.
So this is the
Yeah.
remedy.
Yeah. One
Oh,
day.
okay.
Quick
Dating.
question,
Yes.
Monday,
Yeah.